I'm John Snow. I'm the Dean Emeritus here and also the Regents Professor Emeritus of Meteorology in the School of Meteorology, which is part of the College of Atmospheric and Geographic Sciences. I routinely teach two courses. Every fall I teach a course for our seniors and beginning graduate students called Introduction to the Private Sector, because most of our graduates will ultimately go to work in the private sector in some capacity. I also teach in the spring a section of our course on severe and unusual weather, which is targeted towards sophomores, and the section I teach is reserved for honor students. So we complete the regular course in about 6 weeks, and then we do three-week projects in that course to amplify some of the key points about severe and unusual weather. I'm from southern Indiana. I grew up in Davis County, outside the town of Washington, which is the county seat. I went to high school there. Then I went to an institution that when I went was called the Rose Polytechnic Institute. Today it's the Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology. And over the course of 5.5 years, I received a bachelor's and a master's in electrical engineering. From there, I went on to the Army for 5 years, where I was an Army officer. And after I completed my tour of duty with the Army, I went to Purdue University to get a PhD. And I received my PhD from Purdue in atmospheric science in August 1977. My wife and I arrived at OU and Norman in December of 1993. And on 1 January 1994, I became Dean of what was then known as the College of Geosciences. And we were located in the Sarkis Energy Center. I was Dean and a faculty member in the School of Meteorology until 2006, when I stepped down as Dean and took a regular faculty position in the school for a number of years. I finally retired in 2013, hence the emeritus on my titles. But like all good faculty members, retirement means you're just not being paid by the state anymore. And so I continue to teach, I continue to mentor students, and I run a small consulting firm in which I occasionally employ other faculty and students to help me on projects all around the world. When I arrived here and started as Dean on 1 January 1994, one of the first things I noticed is that we were very crowded in the Sarkis Energy Center. The weather programs, which is focused around the School of Meteorology, but includes research centers such as CAPS and service organizations such as the Oklahoma Climatological Survey and several others, all within the university, as well as 5 agencies of the federal government that deal with weather and climate. We were crowded, and we were on a pretty fast growth curve. So with the support of President Boren and the administration of the National Weather Service, we began a project to build what has become the National Weather Center. This was not an easy task because we had to convince both the state legislature and the U.S. Congress to put up respectable amounts of money to build this building. It took several years and would not have happened were it not for OU President David Boren, who knew how to work the angles in both the state legislature and in the Congress. We were able with that funding to start construction in late 2003, and we moved into the building in 2006. The university took the opportunity of us moving from the Sarkis Center into the National Weather Center as an opportunity to reorganize the various colleges on the campus. And so the College of Geosciences was split. And I retained the deanship for what was now named the College of Atmospheric and Geographic Sciences, with the departments of Meteorology and the Department of Geography, as well as, by this time, about 10 different research organizations that had spun up, and a close liaison with our NOAA colleagues, all of which were moving into the same building with us. The actual move itself took about 6 months because we had to move out of facilities and shut those down, dispose of property. It was a long, drawn-out process, and I was very fortunate to have a very strong staff at that time who handled just thousands of details of getting people out of the buildings they were in, into this building, with all new furniture, all new equipment, and disposing of all the old stuff that they left behind. So it was a great deal. We've now been in the building for over 10 years, and that same staff continues to work as the National Weather Center staff, keeping the place looking neat and clean and like it's brand new most of the time. The academic programs in meteorology at the University of Oklahoma, which includes the school, which teaches students, several research organizations that deal with all aspects of meteorology, from numerical modeling to observations, and outreach organizations that provide services to the state, like the Climatological Survey, all moved in and were growing rapidly through the 1970s, 1980s. And they're weather programs. They're focused on the day-to-day weather problems, the challenges that people face. And we contribute to an international audience that are working on these same sorts of problems, but we're a major player. Now, about 20 years ago, so if you look in the mid-90s, for example, or maybe between 1990 and 95, weather forecasting, thanks to a lot of hard work of people did here, really started showing improvement. A big part of it was the modernization of the Weather Service that gave us data that we'd never had before. And that improvement was such that commercial activity, businesses of all types, that in the past had used a little bit of weather, but it really wasn't accurate enough, it wasn't reliable enough for them to do a lot with. They discovered that meteorologists had crossed a threshold, and that the value of forecast, of monitoring of the weather, had vastly increased because the accuracy had gone up. And so the skill in forecast had become such that now businesses could begin to put major decisions basing it on weather information. 40 years ago, they wouldn't have done that because the forecasts simply weren't accurate enough. Now they are. And so one of the consequences of this being a weather program, right at the center of that sort of revolution of use of weather information in commercial activity, caused a parallel boom here in private sector companies. And so we have companies like Weather News, a Japanese company that has a big office here, one of its world headquarters. We have WDT, which is a direct growth out of the university and NOAA programs that provides all sorts of information to other weather companies. They're a B2B organization as well as a business-to-consumer organization, and they provide information to farmers and to groups such as NSYNC and the various musical acts around the world. They're insurance companies. So a whole range of activities, all of which are based on technology and new science developed in the university and NOAA laboratories. We have other companies like NanoWeather that supports the Olympics, founded by a recent graduate from the university. So we have had really a growth of the NOAA organizations, federal weather organizations, a growth of the university organizations, and right along with it, which provides lots of employment opportunities, growth of a vibrant private sector to become part of the National Weather Center as a program. I think if you want to become a meteorologist, you have to develop a number of skills. And I use the word skills in addition to the word knowledge. Lots of people can learn things by going to classes and doing well on exams. But for a meteorologist to be successful, he or she not only has to do that, learn the math, learn the meteorology, they also have to develop skills. And this set of skills can come pretty hard. Because skill requires practice. And so if you want to be a TV meteorologist, you really need to work in the TV business. And the university provides a really good opportunity with our TV studio up in the School of Journalism. Skill development is a big part. If you want to be a weather forecaster, by the time you're a junior, start forecasting. If you want to be a research scientist, by the time you're a junior in college, find yourself a position in the National Severe Storms Lab or one of the other NOAA agencies, or work for a faculty member. Get a job in an industry that matches your interest as an intern, and maybe it'll turn into a permanent job. So as you come into the University of Oklahoma to study meteorology and to begin a career in that field, remember that you need not only knowledge, but you need skills for success.